Zero carb carnivore noodles in 5 minutes. Let's go. If you have calcium lactate and sodium alginate sitting in your cupboard doing nothing, please stop. In this video, we are going to be using spherification combined with the clean keto flour and how to make it completely carnivore friendly. Now, if you've made these noodles before, as a lot of creators were doing on YouTube about a year ago, some people ran into some problems. They found that they were spending hours waiting for your noodles to be ready. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut that time down to 5 minutes. The nutritional information and your shopping list is listed in the description box, and let's get into the recipe now. First, we are going to set up a water bath, and when I say bath, I mean bath. And that's my husband down there setting up a timer so you can see how long this took me to make. In the bowl, I have 3 cups of regular tap water. To that, I added 1 teaspoon of calcium lactate and whisked that until dissolved and the water runs clear. Then set that aside. In this measuring jug, I have 1.5 cups of tap water and added half the amount to my blender container. Next is 2 tablespoons of chicken powder, 1 teaspoon of beef gelatin powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of turmeric for health benefits and color, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of sodium alginate, and lastly the rest of the water from the measuring jug. Okay, the sodium alginate will stick to the container a little, so I tried to get that incorporated into the rest of the ingredients and blend it for 10 seconds. Shook the blender to incorporate the ingredients and blend it for another 10 seconds. Next, I poured all of the mixture into a 1-hole squeeze bottle, and a very useful tip for you is to rinse the blender container as soon as you can so it's easy to clean, because the sodium alginate can get quite gummy and hard to clean when it dries out. Okay, grab the water bath with the calcium lactate in it, and you want to make sure that the water is constantly swirling. And while constantly stirring, pour the blended mixture into the water, trying to make sure it's pouring evenly into the water. And we are done in 4 minutes and 8 seconds. Check it out. This is probably the quickest carnivore noodles you will ever make. As you can see, my recipe is completely different to the original, which uses egg powder as the flour substitute kind of thing. Yes, we just use chicken powder, but you're not restricted to just chicken powder. I've tried this recipe with the clean keto flour blend that I recently developed, the chicken powder blend and the almond flour blend, and they both work great. So if you have a fine powder, feel free to experiment and make other flavors. The other thing is, you know the water that you add to your blender? You don't have to use water. You can use chicken broth or you can use almond milk. They come out great. And with the beef broth, I'd be a little bit hesitant because it does come out like chicken poop. So be careful of that. In this next clip, I'm going to show you how it turns out using almond milk and the CK almond flour blend. If you don't have one of these, I actually use a piping bag to make my noodles, which is also another option for you. And now let's check out the results. Okay, this is really the same recipe with some substitutions. I added 1 cup of almond milk. I'm using the CK almond flour blend this time. Then added the turmeric, salt, gelatin, sodium alginate, and the rest of the almond milk. Scrape down the sides of the container to incorporate all the ingredients and blend it for 10 seconds. Shook it up and blend it again for another 10 seconds. If you don't have a squeeze bottle, you can use a piping bag with a round hole piping tip. There's just a few tips you need to know to do it successfully. Place the piping bag into a container with the pointy end turned up so the mixture doesn't spill out of the piping tip. Pour in the mixture, and when you remove the bag, you got to be careful to grab both ends. And see here, I'm holding both ends with one hand because my other hand is going to be stirring the water in the water bath. And while stirring, just let go of the pointy end of the piping bag so the mixture can flow through. And cue the close-up of how the noodles look in the bowl while stirring. Let's talk about how some people found that the noodles were actually disintegrating. These are actually made of water. That's the biggest or largest ingredient, right? And if you make thick noodles, you need your noodles to soak in the calcium lactate for a little bit longer until they're springy and really firm. But if you're doing really skinny noodles like with the 3-hole nozzle bottle, you will find that you need maybe 10 minutes and they'll be really springy and they're ready to go. Bottom line is, the thinner your noodles, the less processing or waiting time you will need before you can use them. I let the noodles sit in the calcium lactate water bath for about 30 minutes and strained them. Then I rinsed the noodles with baking soda water, which is about 3 cups of water mixed in with 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's take a look at how these noodles freeze. I froze them and then defrosted them, and this is how they turn out. You can see these noodles are really thin, like angel hair pasta. It's still held up well after they defrosted. For me, one of the most important questions is, how does it hold up in really hot sauce? Let's do a cooking test. Okay, my favorite instant noodles used to be with sweet chili sauce and mozzarella cheese, so that's what I'm going to make here. And I'm going to go through this recipe quickly because I'm just showing you the recipe for the noodles, and we need the sauce to show you how it cooks. To water, I added red cooking sauce, garlic, ginger, chili flakes, granulated sweetener, and brought the sauce to a boil. Then added the noodles and let that cook for a few minutes. Added it to my bowl and mixed in some mozzarella cheese, and these noodles passed the test with flying colors. I was able to slurp up that liquid good. And in amongst the melted cheese, you can see clearly noodles. Well, I hope this video encourages you to use your sodium alginate and your calcium lactate, and you can combine your clean keto flour with it or any actual powder that you like, including almond flour. And if you do have any questions about this recipe or troubleshooting, please drop me a comment and let me know what you think as well once you've tried it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and be well.